Janae. I'm here to talk to you about weathering and erosion. Simon already gave you a lesson on how rocks break down into soil, which is also known as weathering. So I'm going to show you how weathering and erosion, how they're different and how they're also alike. So let's get started. Okay, let's talk about weathering. So weathering is the breaking down of earth materials, and earth materials are rocks, soil, and minerals. See where I had to cross out sand? I was wrong. So weathering is where it wears down rocks, soil, and minerals. And there's three ways that weathering can happen. There's chemical weathering, and that'd be acid rain when oxygen and water react with rocks and beat them down and change them. Number two is biological. That's when the plant roots grow in the cracks or cause cracks in rocks or soil. And so we saw a picture of that with the tree on the other side, how it's going through the rock. And then physical weathering. That's usually when a crack fills with water, it freezes and expands and breaks up the rock. So that's weathering. So now we're going to talk about erosion. So erosion is the movement of earth materials from one place to another. And this happens usually after weathering happens. And so instead of wearing down, it transports the earth materials, the rocks, soil, and the minerals. And there's four ways that this happens. Water can do that. Waterfalls, oceans, rivers can move sediments. Soils, rocks, and minerals can move them from one place to another. The wind can also pick up and move earth materials. Glaciers do it too. And you might be wondering, how do glaciers move around earth materials? So glaciers, they're moving ice mountains. That's another way to think of glaciers, a moving ice mountain. And so as the glacier moves, it's two ways that it moves materials. It'll move through a valley or a gorge. It'll pick up rocks, soil, or minerals at the bottom. And as it moves, it picks them up and moves them along the way. So that's one way. It'll pick them up from one place and move them to another place. The second way is as this glacier is moving, sometimes the ice or the earth materials it's already picked up inside the frozen ice will grind up against the other materials that are already there. So think about if you had, use my hand I guess, if I had, this is like the rocks and I'm moving across, I'm just gonna grind up the soil and everything else that's in my way. So there might be a rock on the bottom of the glacier and then another rock comes up and grinds it up and moves it. So they grind up, make maybe a little smaller piece and the glacier would move it across. And so there's also gravity. Gravity also causes erosion. Do we all know what gravity is? In case we don't, gravity is the force. See, I have these little arrows drawn here. So gravity is the force that the earth has that pulls everything to the center. Gravity is what makes us not float around like we're in space. It holds everything down. So gravity also, if I had a bunch of rocks at the top of my mountain, maybe gravity, just the forces of that, will just gradually, slowly pull the rocks down. They're not going to stay balanced on the tippy top of my mountain here. They're going to fall down. So I'll pull back so you can see both of the posters. And I will post these online for you so you can review them some more if you want. Okay, so like I already promised you, I promised you that we talk about how weathering and erosion are different, but then they're also alike. So if we look at weathering, it's the process of breaking large rocks into smaller rocks over time. And erosion here is the movement of weathered rock and soil from one place to another. So we got breaking down and we got movement of erosion. But then if we look here in the middle, both of them are caused by wind, ice, gravity, and water. So remember, weathering happens, the wind can pick up and break down rocks with the wind, can pull little pieces off. Ice can get into cracks and freeze and expand and break the rock apart. Gravity can pull rocks down or pull them apart. And then water, that's part of the ice, or just hitting up against an earth material, can break them down. But then with erosion, we use the same types of forces to move sediments, rocks, soil around. So wind can cause the broken down materials to move. Ice with our glacier, that's how ice moves through the glacier, can move sediments, rocks, soil around. Gravity can move it, and also water can move it with our ocean, waterfalls, or streams. Any kind of moving water can move earth material. So I hope you enjoyed this.